The most potent aspect of my methodology proved to be its insistence that every voice is important. And this was a quote by Judy Chicago off of the Penn State Art Education site. And this is the quote that really inspired me to apply for the Judy Chicago Art Education Award, which is on our website under the tab Award. And we would encourage everybody to apply because that application time is open now. The one thing that really resonates with me about Judy Chicago's work is the importance of every voice, and also her work that shows and demonstrates the exclusion of the voice of women. So the curriculum project, the dinner party curriculum project, which is part of the site, and it is actually under the Living tab, is a great resource for K-12 teachers in that you can go there and the encounters that are listed on the left-hand side of the page are already written and ready for you to use in the classroom. They can assist with simplifying the stress of lesson planning because you have everything done for you. And a teacher could actually take an entire year and work on all 14 encounters with their students, K through 12. One thing I really like about the encounters is they are a participatory practice, which means there is a specific goal and desire to have more interaction and discussion and sharing with students. One of the experiences that I shared with notifications and invitations for teachers to come to this event today is an experience that Dr. Karen Kiefer-Boyd had in her professional studies master's program, in having a discussion with her students and asking them about the table. And just a table, the table, what table. And this is a discussion, and this is one element out of the encounters, one lesson, where K-12 teachers could really sit and expand the thinking of their students by having a simple discussion on the table. For example, some of the questions are, what does it mean to have a place at the table? What are some of your personal experiences with being around a table? How have tables functioned in your life? And so just having these discussions with children and getting them to expand their thinking about a very simple object that we take for granted is something that I really appreciate about Judy Chicago's work. Taking care of the table in the home, putting things on the table such as meals are traditionally the roles of women, but helping children to understand the power of a table in her work is something that I really appreciate. The second thing I wanted to mention is the media page, which the link, the tab is right here, lots of videos. And as you look at that, there are lots of...
you might need to verbally say where it is because you've got guests.
Oh, so if you go to the Judy Chicago Art Education Collection, if you go over to media, and then it will bring up all the videos. Once you click on media, then you'll have access to all the videos, which everything on the site is free and ready for teachers to absolutely use in their classroom. The invitation that went out, the clip that I wanted teachers to look at as their invitation to come is Judy Chicago's Institutional Time, A Critique of Studio Art Education. And that's actually found in another spot, which is the dialogue portal. So if you go to the tab on the right, this is dialogue, and you click on that, there's another source of videos where teachers can go to have discussions with their students. She had a discussion in the clip that I invited teachers to look at. She's discussing and sharing the work of a particular female student, and these were students of hers, and she was invited by a male professor to critique a female student's work because the professor did not know what to do with her, how to guide her. And immediately upon looking at her work, Judy Chicago realized that this young woman had been sexually assaulted, and then went through giving her appropriate directions on what to do to develop her work and to work through the emotional content that she had in her work in an appropriate way. And I think in our classrooms today, this is something that teachers shy away from and that they need to understand and embrace, especially with art teachers. Like over 85% of our art teachers in the membership of the NAEA are women. So we need to define and hone that skill of being able to help girls in our classrooms. And Judy Chicago has some great videos on how to do that. In addition to that, I found an article, Addressing Contemporary Social Issues in Art Education, a survey of public school art educators in Georgia by Melody Milbrandt. And this was published in Studies in Art Education. And she did research in Georgia about what are the top valued things in the classroom, in the art education classroom, and then what are the top items that are taught. And interestingly enough, her research showed that the top three were appreciation of culture and diversity, environmental issues, and then the third was violence, abuse, and war. However, the top taught items, the top three, were appreciation of cultural diversity, violence, abuse, and war, and the effects of mass media. So when we're looking at Chicago's work and we're putting in the context of the girls we have in our classrooms, we need to be aware of what we're actually teaching and how to help girls embrace the challenges that they've dealt with in their lives, but also to help them have a voice and to put that voice into their work. And to not necessarily copy what Judy Chicago does, but to be able to find their own voice and add that in their work. One thing I love about Judy Chicago is she doesn't expect people that appreciate or replicate her work. She doesn't want that. What she really wants is people to look at her artwork and use it as a springboard to create their own voice in their own medium, in their own style, in their own way, because she kind of gave us that whole springboard with the dinner party. The third thing I'd like to talk about are the podcasts. And if we go under Living, right here in the center, the Living tab, and to Teacher Conversations and the Teacher Collection, there are several podcasts that teachers can listen to with their class, have them respond to, and that is a great source for opening up discussions. The one that I sent in the invitation was a conversation of Dr. Wanda Knight, and she emphasized the need to develop a knowledge of self. So to find one's voice and to be able to put that in the artwork, one needs to be able to have their voice and know how to share it. She wants and challenges our beliefs, our assumptions, and our biases. And she invites people to have a conversation. And in the clip that I sent out, she says, the oldest bodies we have are from Africa. She says, you have a Black mother, and how do you respond to that? And in this lecture, she opened that right up. You have a Black mother, how do you respond to that? And allowed participants in the audience to share their thoughts about that. I think in this day and age, it's time that we as art educators get comfortable with the uncomfortable questions. And Judy Chicago's art education collection at Penn State helps us to have a starting point for doing that. The last point.
Do you want to just add the context of Wanda standing in front of the Earth birth piece, because that's where that question.
Yes, she was standing in front of the Earth birth piece, and I don't have an image of that in front of me right now. But as she talked about that, the piece was done in 1983. It was sprayed Versatex and floss on fabric. And I apologize, I don't have an image.
It's about the size of the screen. It's huge fabric piece there.
Yep. So she was able to kind of have that discussion.
So the whole notion of earth birth and that we are all our mother is our ancestry goes to Africa,
right?
Continent of Africa, particularly. So that's all the research that shows that, and
so that's a fact. That's not debatable.
Yeah. So that's important part about having that conversation,
yep.
Earth birth, and your assumptions that you're looking at that where you think that Earth birth was,
right,
for the human race,
right, and where you think you came from may not be where you think you came from.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. The last section I'd like to talk about that I really appreciate, and interestingly enough, I was talking to Dr. Kiefer Boyd about this, is the participatory art pedagogy informed by feminist principles. And that can be found, where am I at? Again, under the living section, and then it has this lovely gold box that has a simplification of those steps for teachers to look at as a resource. Interesting, in my conversations I've had with many teachers across the country, when I ask them about this and if they've done this, they say to me, oh yeah, I do that. Oh yeah. And then I kind of deepen the conversation to say, well, how do you do that? Can we talk about it? And a lot of teachers feel like as they're allowing their students to participate and to make art, that is the same as a participatory art pedagogy. And that's incorrect. So I would encourage and invite educators to look at this page and really take a minute and kind of read over what those steps are, because there's very important elements in the steps as far as reading and research. The self-presentations, you know, there's this part where the student has to really come forward and express themselves. The content search, what are they going to put in the art? Sometimes we feel like we should only do the technical aspects of art making. It should be, you know, 3D or 2D design, and that's it, without a voice, without that content. And the content is very powerful, and the content is very much needed in this day and age in the art classroom. The student needs to make goals and be a part of what is that project going to be. As a former teacher in Flint, Michigan, I worked with alternative ed students that faced many intersectionalities and challenges. And one of the things I found that was vital to them learning how to thrive and survive in a toxic environment was they had to have a voice. And they had to learn how to use that voice, find that voice, and they had to learn how to make goals in making their art projects. It wasn't just do whatever you want, that's creative and awesome, but they had to have steps. And we followed many of the steps in Judy Chicago's participatory art pedagogy. As you go through processes of making, the steps are there for decisions and choices all along the way. And number 5 is, I really think is important, is a support structure. And it kind of goes back to the conversation that Judy Chicago had with her former student, was that the male professor was kind of stuck of how to guide this young woman. But without a support structure, we have artists, women artists that are going to college that are not getting that support structure and not being able to go into the field as professional artists with the same amount of success as we find men doing. And that support structure in the art making process is vital. And then at the end, on section 3, the participant selection, processes to image, balancing support, content-based critiques, having that audience, showing that work publicly, and being able to get a final evaluation. And so these are all very important elements in the participatory art pedagogy that's informed by feminist principles. And these are the 4 points that I have to share today. Thank you so much.